Greetings, fourth grade friends. I'm hopeful that your evening has started off well. I'm here tonight to join you a little bit to introduce the word called homonym. Homonym may be a new word for some of you, but some of you may have heard that word, maybe not know what it means. There might be a few of you that also know what it means. So as we talk about homonyms tonight, we are going to work on the following learning goals. Number 1, I can define a homonym. Number 2, I can identify when the homonym to, or to is used incorrectly. And number 3, I can use to, and to correctly in my own writing. As we talk in the next day or so in this evening about homonyms, we're ultimately moving towards mastering this learning goal. The activities that we'll do will help us move towards using those words correctly in our writing because, friends, I've noticed a little bit that we're confusing them. So I'm hopeful that this will eliminate any confusion that you have. Here we go. A homonym is a word, or are words that they're pronounced or spelled the exact same way, but they might have different meanings. Now, you probably know of several homonyms without even maybe realizing it. There's then and than, THEN, referring to a time period, and than, THAN, compares to things. There, and there, are and our, here and here, by and by, your and your, and to and to. And from our learning goals, and you can see that to, and to is bolded, that is going to be the first homonym we are going to really emphasize in the next day or so. So when thinking about the word to, and to, I've provided some sentences where I have used the correct form of to in each one. And so we're just going to start, friends, by looking at each sentence, and then we will continue on by identifying how to know when to use each form. So the first sample is Mrs. Brower went to the store to buy groceries for the week. Mrs. Brower took too much time at the grocery store. And last but not least, Mrs. Brower bought 2 gallons of milk at the store. At this time, I just want you to take about 15 seconds to think to yourself, and I'll give you some quiet time to think. How has Mrs. Brower used those correctly? Or maybe you want to think to yourself, what's the difference between the two, or the to, and to in each sentence? Your 15 seconds starts about now. I look forward to talking tomorrow about how you knew how I use those correctly. Moving forward, when using the correct form of to, this might give you some idea as how to know when you should use just to. To is used as a connection, or if we're talking parts of speech, as a preposition to connect words in a sentence. So for example, it could be used as an infinitive before a verb, or it often can refer to a direction or a destination. For example, in the first sentence, the boat is going to the dock. That is referring to a destination that the boat is taking. The second example, we don't need to buy that right now. Referring to, we don't need it now, so we're not going to buy it. To is acting as an infinitive. And last but not least, it is important to run every day. That third sentence is very similar to the to in the second sentence in the sense that it is acting as an infinitive, not referring to a direction or a destination. Using the correct form of to, as in TOO, this form of to is often used as a synonym for the word also. So if you are writing a sentence and you can replace also with the word to, you know that you're using it correctly. It can also indicate excessiveness or more than is necessary. Too much, for example. So my first example is, I am going to the mall to. In that sentence, I could replace also with the word to. In the second sentence, I'm referring to something that's in excess or more than is necessary. I ate too much for dinner. The last form of to is probably the simplest one, TWO, and that's simply referring to the number 2. So it's just a way to write the word number 2 in a word instead of as a number or a digit. Examples include, can you give me $2? And I have 2 hands and 2 feet. Now, as we move forward, I am going to be displaying a paragraph that I wrote to you, and you might notice that Mrs. Brower did not use some of the forms of to correctly. So I am going to read it to you, and I want you to think about where I didn't use those forms of to correctly, because it's going to be important for your homework. To my 4th grade students, it is time that we begin learning about homonyms. There are many different homonyms to learn. When learning about homonyms, it is important to be careful so you don't accidentally make a mistake. There are many common forms of homonyms, so they will often come up in your writing. Be sure to not work too fast as you learn about them. At this point, do you have any questions about them? If yes, I am happy to answer them. If not, it is time to edit this paragraph to see if Mrs. Brower has used the words correctly. Good luck, and think about what Mrs. Brower discussed in this lesson. Love, Mrs. Brower. Now you'll notice right here, friends, that this student is also editing a piece of writing where the homonym to might have not been used correctly. You'll notice that this individual is using a red or a different colored pencil, or really any other writing utensil that is a different color, and correcting it by crossing out what is incorrect. So in this example, the author wrote to as in too much or an excessive amount, but it should just be to the dock. So the student crossed out the O. As you move forward to tonight's homework, that you will be doing the same thing. Okay? Step number 1, you will need to correct Mrs. Brower's errors in the letter she wrote you. A question that you might want to ask yourself is, did Mrs. Brower use the correct forms of to, and to? If not, please correct them. If you're not entirely sure, this Google presentation will be available to you, so head back and re-look at our definitions and examples. Sometimes the examples even help me, so I know they'll be helpful for you. Please copy and paste the paragraph I wrote into a Google Doc that I've created for you on Google Classroom. Please turn in when you have completed. I look forward to seeing your work. The second piece of homework that I would like you to do is, as you read to self tonight, find 3 places in your book where the author uses each form of to, and to. Ensure that the author has used the homonym correctly, and in a small group tomorrow, be ready to prove why he or she did or did not use the forms correctly. Okay? So you can do that as you complete your read to self homework this evening. Tomorrow we can look forward to sharing those words we found in our Just Right books in a small group. We will correct Mrs. Brower's letters together So I look forward to you being the experts into the homonym 2, 2, and 2, and then you will write a letter to me using those forms correctly. Okay? If you would like to access the resources that I use to help me put this lesson together, they are also provided. Good luck on your homework, friends, and I look forward to talking and working on the same learning goals tomorrow. I can define a homonym. I can determine if 2, 2, and 2 is used correctly or incorrectly in writing and in my reading. And tomorrow I will work towards using them correctly in my own writing. See you tomorrow, my friends. Good night.